A blind mystic from Bulgaria, who passed away almost 30 years ago, might have seen what's unfolding in America today, long before it ever happened. Her name was Baba Vanga, a woman often called the Nostradamus of the Balkans. Born in 1911, she lost her sight at the age of 12 after being swept away by a violent dust storm. But when she emerged from that storm, something extraordinary had changed within her. Though she could no longer see the physical world, she claimed to see beyond it. She spoke of iron birds attacking America long before anyone could imagine planes crashing into the Twin Towers. She foresaw a great wave swallowing coastlines, which many believe described the 2004 tsunami. She even predicted the rise of ISIS and the election of America's first African-American president. But among all her prophecies, there was one that stands out, a vision about America, about a man named Trump, and about the year 2026. What if everything she saw back then is happening right now? The man in Baba Vanga's prophecies. Baba Vanga once spoke of a time when America would begin to tear itself apart from within, when brother would turn against brother, and when a powerful man with golden towers would shake the very foundations of democracy. She called the year 2026 a turning point, a moment when everything would change forever. So who was this man she saw? Many believe that the description fits none other than Donald Trump. According to those who documented her prophecies, Baba Vanga spoke of a leader who would come not from politics, but from the world of gold and commerce, a man who would rise to the highest office despite everyone saying he would fail. And that's exactly what happened. In 2016, every major poll, every political expert, and nearly every media outlet said Trump didn't stand a chance. Yet, against all odds, he won. Baba Vanga had seen it decades earlier, but that was only the beginning of what she foresaw. She spoke of this leader facing endless persecution, legal trials, and attempts to remove him from power through accusations and courts. She saw him being surrounded by enemies on all sides, yet surviving it all. Looking at what has happened since, her words sound hauntingly familiar. The impeachments, the investigations, the criminal charges, the civil lawsuits, all of it matches her prophecy almost perfectly. But Vanga's vision didn't end there. She predicted that after a period of exile and persecution, this same leader would rise again, stronger, more determined, and ready to reclaim his power. She placed this return in 2025, marking it as the start of massive transformations, not just for America, but for the entire world. And now, as Trump prepares for the 2024 election with an inauguration in 2025, if he wins, the timeline she described aligns almost too precisely to ignore. Still, Baba Vanga warned that what comes after his return would not be peace, but division. She foresaw that 2026 would bring the greatest internal split America had ever faced, a divide so deep it would threaten the very survival of the United States as we know it. She saw states defying federal control, waves of protests shaking major cities, and a nation on the brink of collapse. She called it the Great Fracturing. Her prophecy also spoke of an economic crisis that would ripple across the world, a collapse of financial systems, the fall of the dollar's dominance, and a major shift in global alliances. She predicted that countries once allied with the United States would turn their backs, forging new partnerships that would permanently alter the world's balance of power. And all of this, she said, would begin in 2026, exactly 2 years after Trump's return to office. But her visions didn't stop with economics or politics. Baba Vanga also warned that this leader's comeback would set off a chain of global events that could bring the world closer to a major conflict than at any time since World War II. She spoke of a growing confrontation between East and West, of proxy wars escalating, and of 2026 as the year when humanity would stand at the edge of a global crisis. When we look at today's headlines, it's hard not to notice the parallels, the rising tension between the U.S. and China over Taiwan, the ongoing war in Ukraine with no resolution in sight, North Korea testing weapons again, Iran edging closer to nuclear capability, Every flashpoint Baba Vanga mentioned seems to be heating up all at once, just as she predicted. Even more unsettling are her warnings about Trump's personal safety. She spoke of multiple attempts on his life dangers, both seen and unseen, and said that his survival or death would determine America's destiny. According to her, 2026 would be the most dangerous year for him, a time when those who see him as a threat would become desperate. Considering the political polarization and the intensity of public emotions today, that prophecy feels alarmingly close to reality. She also foresaw betrayal from within his own circle, that people he trusted most would eventually turn against him. By 2026, she said, he would come to realize that his greatest enemies were not those shouting against him in public, but those standing quietly beside him. She spoke of a great purge, a period when corruption and hidden alliances would be exposed across both political parties, forcing him to stand alone against a system determined to bring him down. Predictions for America. Interpreters of her prophecies suggest several plausible triggers, and each one points to a different kind of vulnerability. Some readings name a violent attack on U.S. soil that would spark mass outrage and fear. Others point to a cyber-triggered financial collapse that shuts down markets and banking services almost overnight. Still others warn of a natural catastrophe so overwhelming that the federal government simply cannot coordinate an effective response. The common thread is not the precise cause, but the speed and scale of the cascade. One major disruption that overwhelms normal coping mechanisms and turns localized problems into a national emergency. Baba Vanga's warnings also get granular about geography. For the West Coast, she used images of fire and water striking together, language that many hear as an earthquake compounded by coastal inundation, an earthquake that either triggers tsunamis or interacts with volcanic and flood risks to create simultaneous disasters. If that reading is correct, the risk isn't only seismic shaking, but the compound impact on cities and ports that serve as nerve centers for the economy. Preparedness there means planning for multiple, simultaneous failures, damaged transport links, overwhelmed hospitals, and disrupted fuel and food supplies that ripple inward from coastal hubs. Turning inland, her descriptions of the Midwest and the South emphasize water in unexpected places, rivers overtopping their banks, low-lying cities inundated, and communities that have never faced large-scale flooding suddenly forced to evacuate. Climate science warns of shifting precipitation patterns and more intense storms, which makes these visions more than poetic images. They describe how infrastructure built for a different climate can fail when extremes become the norm. When drainage systems, levees, and emergency response plans are designed around historical weather, a new level of storm intensity can create cascading humanitarian problems that spread far beyond the flooded neighborhoods. Perhaps the most modern and immediately actionable piece of her warning concerns food and logistics. Baba Vanga did not describe scarcity as a failure of farms to produce. She spoke of distribution systems collapsing, transport networks breaking down, and ports closing, a world in which goods exist but cannot be moved to where people need them. That maps eerily well onto vulnerabilities we already know about: tightly optimized, just-in-time supply chains, centralization of critical ports and warehouses, and complex digital control systems that, if disrupted, would interrupt flows of fuel, food, and medicine. The practical implication is clear. Even if production remains stable, interruptions in distribution can create genuine shortages and long queues at stores, and those shortages tend to inflame social tensions when they intersect with political crisis. Reading these threads together reveals the scenario Baba Vanga sketched: political crisis and mass protest centered on the capital, simultaneous natural disasters in key regions, and logistics failures that turn scarcity into an everyday reality. When you stack these elements, the result is not a linear problem you can solve with a single fix. It becomes an interconnected failure, where one broken system amplifies stresses in others, producing displacement, contested authority, and prolonged instability. That is why emergency planners use the term compound disasters. The worst outcomes are rarely caused by one thing alone, but by multiple failures colliding at once. None of this is meant to argue inevitability. Her images are warnings about possibilities. Yet the value of treating them seriously lies in the concrete, practical steps they imply. Strengthening local response capacity in capitals and cities, creating redundancy in food and fuel distribution, hardening digital infrastructure against cyber shocks, and investing in resilient coastal and inland flood defenses are measures that reduce the chance any single trigger becomes an existential crisis. In short, whether you view Baba Vanga's visions as prophecy or as a stark hypothetical, the takeaway is the same. A resilient society is one that prepares for linked failures, not just isolated problems. A warning to all humanity. Baba Vanga's message for the world was not merely a prediction, it was a warning. She saw humanity reaching a turning point, where our economic, environmental, and technological choices would collide to create a storm unlike anything we have ever faced. Looking at the world today, it's hard to deny that many of her warnings are taking shape right before our eyes. Economically, the global system seems more fragile than ever. The U.S. national debt has reached unprecedented levels, and inflation continues to erode the value of savings for millions of families. Relationships between America and its longtime allies are becoming increasingly strained, while China and Russia grow closer through shared strategic interests. Across the Middle East, nations are moving away from the dollar, exploring new ways to assert financial independence. Meanwhile, the BRICS alliance is building alternative currency systems, a direct challenge to the Western economic order. Every indicator Baba Vanga mentioned, from financial instability to shifting power alliances, is now visible on the world stage, signaling that the global economy we've relied on for decades may be approaching a dramatic transformation. But Baba Vanga's prophecies were not limited to economics. She warned of nature itself rising in rebellion. Her visions of 2026 included massive storms, unexpected earthquakes, and what she called fire from the sky. She said these would not simply be random disasters, but signs, warnings that humanity had lost its balance with nature. Today, as we witness record-breaking hurricanes, wildfires consuming entire regions, and polar vortexes pushing freezing air deep into the south, it's hard not to see a reflection of her words. Regardless of where one stands on the debate over climate change, the sheer intensity and frequency of natural disasters are impossible to ignore. It's as if the Earth is speaking louder each year, reminding us that there are limits to how far we can push without consequence. Her foresight extended beyond natural forces. She warned about something entirely human-made: artificial intelligence. Baba Vanga spoke of machines that think, systems capable of making decisions that would affect millions of lives. She said that in 2026, humanity would face its first true crisis born from these thinking machines, a moment when people would realize they had created something that could no longer be fully controlled. When we look at the present day, her words feel eerily relevant. AI systems are already writing complex code, generating realistic images and voices, running financial models, and even shaping public opinion. What once seemed like science fiction is now a part of everyday life. And with that rapid progress comes uncertainty about jobs, privacy, ethics, and even the definition of what it means to be human. Baba Vanga's warning seems less like an ancient prophecy and more like a mirror reflecting our own growing unease about technology's reach. Her predictions also painted a broader picture of a world in turmoil. She foresaw Europe entering a period of deep instability, the beginning of fractures within the European Union, political turmoil in major nations, and rising nationalism threatening to tear apart decades of unity. The current economic struggles, social unrest, and leadership crises in countries like France and Germany echo exactly what she described. The cracks in Europe's foundation are becoming visible, and what happens there will inevitably ripple across the Atlantic, affecting America's economy, alliances, and foreign policy. In Asia, Baba Vanga's words pointed to a major shift in power dynamics. She spoke of China taking bold, assertive actions, that would force America to make difficult choices. She saw Japan rearming in response to growing regional threats, and India rising as a decisive global player. Each of these developments is now unfolding before us. The strategic rivalry in the Indo-Pacific is intensifying, and the balance of power that defined the 20th century is being rewritten. America's dominance, once unquestioned, is now being challenged by a multipolar world where influence is shared and often contested. The Middle East, in her vision, was a flashpoint of even greater danger. She described 2026 as a year of escalating conflict, a time when religious tensions would reach their peak, and the specter of nuclear weapons would no longer be a distant fear, but a tangible threat. She mentioned multiple nations and proxy forces becoming entangled in wars that could spiral into something far larger. Looking at the present, the ongoing conflicts involving Israel, Iran, Yemen, and Syria seem to align almost perfectly with her words. The region stands at a crossroads, and one wrong move could ignite a chain reaction with global consequences. Yet, despite the gravity of her warnings, Baba Vanga did not end her message with despair. She believed that after the storm, humanity would rise, renewed. The pain, she said, would give birth to transformation. She foresaw a world reshaped, one that had learned from its mistakes and rebuilt itself on values of justice, empathy, and balance. The crisis of 2026, in her eyes, would not be the end of civilization, but the painful birth of a new era, one where technology serves humanity, where nations cooperate rather than compete, and where people rediscover their connection to both each other and the earth. Her words remind us that while prophecy may warn of darkness, it also points toward light. The question for us now is not whether these events will happen, but whether we are willing to listen, learn, and change before it's too late. Geopolitical changes. Baba Vanga's predictions for 2026 also encompass significant geopolitical changes. She foresaw shifts in global power dynamics that could reshape international relations and influence the balance of power. Emerging powers could rise to prominence once dominant nations see their influence wane. These changes will impact global trade, economic policies, and diplomatic relations. Countries must navigate these shifts carefully to maintain stability and foster cooperation. Baba Vanga's prophecies suggest that some nations may form new alliances, while others could experience internal strife and political upheaval. The predicted geopolitical changes may also affect global security. Shifting power dynamics could increase the risk of conflicts and tensions. Nations must prioritize diplomacy and conflict resolution to avoid escalation and promote peace. In addition to power shifts, Baba Vanga predicted changes in global leadership. New leaders may emerge with different visions and policies, influencing the direction of their countries and the world. These leaders could be crucial in addressing global challenges, such as climate change, economic inequality, and social justice. Baba Vanga's predictions for geopolitical changes in 2026 highlight the need for adaptability and resilience. As the world evolves, nations must work together to navigate these changes and create a more stable and prosperous future. The world conflict. Apparently, many of her predictions have come true long after her death. For instance, Baba Vanga is said to have foretold the death of Princess Diana, the sinking of the Russian submarine Kursk, and the September in America. She even allegedly foresaw her own death on 11 August 1996 at the age of 85. Even though the mystic is no more, she made predictions for every year up until 5079. For 2026, her prophecy states, "When Syria falls, a great war between the West and the East will follow. In the spring, a conflict will ignite in the East, leading to a Third World War, a war that will destroy the West." As events in Syria spiral, fears of this vision coming true are mounting. Recent developments in Aleppo, where insurgents have captured key installations, have drawn renewed attention to a dire prophecy made by Baba Vanga. Rebels from the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham group have declared the end of the era as they push deeper into Damascus, capturing Sednaya prison, a notorious symbol of Assad's regime. Aleppo has already fallen, and while the Syrian Defense Ministry denies claims of Hom's capture, the rebels' momentum remains unchecked. Key ally Hezbollah has withdrawn its forces, and thousands of Syrian soldiers have reportedly fled to Iraq. Panic grips Damascus, with residents scrambling for supplies and money, fearing what comes next. In a symbolic act, protesters in the city's suburbs have toppled statues of Assad's father, Hafez al-Assad. Before her death in 1996, Baba Vanga predicted that Syria's fall would act as a precursor to a global conflict. She warned, "As soon as Syria falls, expect a great war between the West and the East. In the spring, a war in the East will begin, and there will be a third world war. A war in the East that will destroy the West." This cryptic message has left many speculating about the future of the Middle East and the broader consequences for global stability. The rapid escalation in Syria is now seen as a potential trigger for the catastrophic conflict she foresaw. As Assad's regime collapses, Syria's unrest could spill over into neighboring regions, risking wider conflict. Baba Vanga's prophecy, once dismissed as folklore, feels alarmingly relevant as the global community braces for what might follow. The fall of Aleppo to insurgents has wider implications, not just for Syria, but also for global peace. With its international airport now under militant control, Syria's situation could potentially exacerbate tensions among major powers, particularly as Russian-made weapons feature prominently in the insurgents' cache. This development has drawn international scrutiny, with concerns that the conflict may escalate beyond the region. Adding weight to the prophecy, Baba Vanga ominously stated, "Syria will fall at the feet of the winner, but the winner will not be the one." This cryptic remark has left many wondering about the true implications of her foresight. As the situation in Syria unfolds, the eerie relevance of Baba Vanga's predictions serves as a reminder of the delicate state of international relations. While skeptics may dismiss her words as coincidence, the alignment of her prophecy with recent events underscores the uncertainty. That's why Baba Vanga also supposedly predicted the outbreak of a conflict that would affect much of Europe in 2026. Like Nostradamus, her visions seem to point to a war that could escalate to involve global powers. It is said that she warned about the destruction of the world as we know it, a phrase some interpret as referring to a conflict that could shift the balance of power and cause great loss. According to this interpretation, the conflict could drastically reduce the population in Europe and create a worldwide humanitarian crisis. Current tensions in Europe and Asia have led many to view this prediction as a serious warning, though the true scope of her words remains a topic of debate. The future of AI. Will it bring dark days ahead? The seer warns that a technological breakthrough will shatter our understanding of reality itself. But with this power comes an unprecedented danger. She foresees a major breakthrough in the realm of quantum computing, bringing an unprecedented technological revolution. This advancement is set to shake up various sectors, from finance and healthcare to cybersecurity, all thanks to the mind-blowing capabilities of quantum computers. The rapid advance of technology is transforming civilization in ways no one expected, in ways that are exciting and scary, ways we are only beginning to understand. Tech seems on the verge of recreating human beings into something new, something altered, bionic, computerized, robotic, superhuman. The internet's spider web has descended and covered nearly all elements of civilization. The smartphone, smartwatch, and smart home are growing into the smart world. Some people who are closely following developments in the field of artificial intelligence are focusing exclusively on the crises that the world of the future may hold. You know, not only AI, but any development can be both a poison and a cure. Derrida developed such a critical reading based on the ancient Greek term pharmakon. If you drink too much water, it can also be poisonous and lead to death. To summarize, the crises that this technology will bring are inherent to the concept of development. Otherwise, it would not be conceivable. Therefore, if you follow the progress of artificial intelligence technologies, you can imagine millions of negative possibilities, and you will probably be right about some of them. However, optimism and pessimism are a matter of temperament. Due to the subjectivity of the situation, there can be both crises and opportunities. Good and bad are human value judgments. It is a difficult discussion to justify why the future world will be really bad as a result of these technological developments. Even if you say, we are becoming cyborgs, one could ask, okay, but why is that bad, and by what criteria? In conclusion, the future will unfold as it may, neither inherently good nor bad, because history is already constructing itself moment by moment. What exists today is highly likely to persist tomorrow, just as it is. More positively, Baba Vanga prophesied that substantial advances in human telepathy would be made by science, allowing individuals to speak to one another via thinking. This innovation has the ability to transform how we communicate with one another and open up new avenues for interpersonal relationships. She forecasted that researchers will successfully grow human organs in labs, opening the door for groundbreaking medical improvements. Vanga continued that an enigmatic, unbounded, and clean energy source will be found that could revolutionize how we power our planet. Human birth at laboratories. Baba Vanga is believed to have predicted that maybe at the end of 2026, human babies will be born in laboratories where the color of their skin to their character can be decided. This means that the entire process of birth will be controlled. The rise of technology, according to Vanga, advancements in reproductive technology have already made it possible for some couples to conceive through in vitro fertilization, IVF, and other assisted reproductive technologies. However, the idea of human reproduction becoming entirely artificial raises a number of ethical questions, such as whether it is right to create human life in a laboratory setting. Additionally, it is unclear what impact this could have on the population as a whole, and what unintended consequences could arise from such technology. Human reproduction becoming entirely artificial could have significant consequences for our population and society. It could potentially lead to a decrease in genetic diversity and a greater reliance on technology to create new life. It could also raise significant ethical questions about the creation and ownership of life, as well as the role of government and society in regulating and controlling such technology. The development of artificial reproductive technologies is an active area of research, and significant advancements have already been made in this field. For example, scientists have successfully grown mouse embryos in an artificial womb, and human embryos have been successfully grown in vitro. While there are still many technical and ethical challenges to be addressed, these advancements suggest that the development of entirely artificial human reproduction is not outside the realm of possibility. The development of artificial body parts and prosthetics is an active area of research, and significant advancements have already been made in this field. For example, scientists have developed brain-controlled prosthetic arms, and some artificial organs, such as hearts, are already in use. While the development of entirely artificial bodies and organs is still a long way off, these advancements suggest that the potential for such technology is not out of the question. Social revolutions. The predictions of political upheavals and dangers are not limited to one area, indicating Vanga's vision of global tension. She talked about Putin in danger and European trials. The political upheavals as a result of the Russia-Ukraine war. Baba Vanga has predicted the assassination of Russian President Vladimir Putin. This prediction gains particular significance following a recent tragic event in Moscow that has shocked the world. The recent attack in Moscow, which claimed the lives of 133 individuals and left many more wounded, has sent shockwaves across Russia and beyond. President Putin addressed the nation, acknowledging the severity of the attack and vowing to pursue those responsible for organizing it. The attack, which occurred at the Crocus City Hall during a rock concert, marked one of the deadliest incidents in Moscow in over 2 decades. The tragedy has reignited concerns about security and terrorism in the region, prompting heightened vigilance and security measures. While authorities have detained suspects linked to the attack, including individuals with alleged ties to extremist groups, questions linger about the motives and origins of the assailants. Speculation and conspiracy theories have emerged, with some suggesting possible connections to larger geopolitical tensions and conflicts. Against this backdrop, Baba Vanga's prediction about a rise in attacks in Europe takes on added significance. Her mention of a big country conducting biological weapons tests or attacks adds another layer of complexity to the ongoing discussions about global security. Baba Vanga warned of increased activities in Europe and hinted at the possibility of a major country engaging in biological weapons testing or launching attacks. Presently, the Israel-Hamas conflict and Russia's invasion of Ukraine remain prominent issues because the balance of international power has changed. Is China rising as many people think, or is Russia declining rapidly? Might be. China's development cannot make up for Russia's decline, so the power to balance the West is gradually becoming weaker. There are more and more democratic countries, and their power is getting stronger, such as Eastern Europe and India. NATO is gradually expanding eastward, and a pattern of encircling China is also taking shape. Many territorial disputes between Russia and China are being unearthed from history. Russia's rule over Tatars, Chechnya, and many other ethnic states in the southwest, and China's rule over East Turkestan, Tibet, southern Mongolia, and Hong Kong are becoming less and less recognized by the world. The aftermath of the Moscow attack could potentially exacerbate existing economic challenges, leading to further uncertainty and volatility, a silent separation. Among all of Baba Vanga's chilling prophecies, one stands out not for its dramatic events, but for its eerie subtlety. She didn't only warn of wars, disasters, or political upheaval. She spoke of a quiet, intimate, and deeply personal event, a spiritual separation that would quietly unravel the fabric of human relationships and existence itself. Baba Vanga foretold a time when love alone would no longer be enough to keep people together. She said, "A time will come when love will not be enough to hold people together. Each soul will walk its own path, and some will vanish." This silent separation is not a physical rupture, but a profound spiritual divide growing in the hearts of people, tearing apart families, friendships, and communities in ways that many cannot fully comprehend or explain. In today's world, we can already see signs of this prophecy unfolding. Families live under the same roof, but emotionally drift apart. Parents find themselves unable to reach their children, siblings stop communicating, and spouses live as strangers despite sharing a life. Baba Vanga's warning that the home will be full of voices, but hearts will be empty, the bloodline will no longer bind, echoes in this growing emotional isolation. The ties that once seemed unbreakable are unraveling, not through anger or conflict, but through apathy, misunderstanding, and a growing spiritual disconnect. This subtle breakdown extends beyond families to friendships and social bonds, where ideological differences and fear of the unknown push people apart. Baba Vanga described this process as a sorting of souls, saying, "There will be a sorting, not by hand, but by heart." This means that people who once shared laughter and memories can find themselves on separate spiritual paths, their connection dissolving because their hearts no longer resonate in harmony. This spiritual schism is not limited to individuals but is spreading on a global scale. While the world's attention is often consumed by political conflicts, natural disasters, and economic crises, Baba Vanga's vision points to a more insidious divide, a cosmic sorting of humanity between those awakening to higher truths and those remaining asleep in darkness. She spoke of one table, two realities, one bed, two dreams, one world, two paths. This invisible line will cut through nations, cities, and even families, creating a division not based on geography or ethnicity, but on spiritual choice. The separation she described will distinguish those who embrace growth, love, and consciousness from those trapped in fear, denial, and stagnation. It is a division of the soul, the most fundamental divide possible, which many will fail to notice until it has already deeply taken root. The emotional cost of this awakening is immense. Many who begin to perceive this divide experience profound loneliness and alienation. As Baba Vanga warned, those who see the truth will feel alone. But the silence is not punishment, it is protection. This loneliness is a necessary stage for spiritual growth, a sign that one's soul is stepping away from the old systems of thought and belief that no longer serve its evolution. It is a silent call to prepare for the coming transformation. Those who remain stagnant in their spiritual journey, those who refuse to evolve, may find themselves cut off, not only from others, but from existence itself. The separation is a cleansing process, setting apart the awakened souls for what lies ahead. Ultimately, Baba Vanga believed that this silent separation was a necessary precursor to a greater divine reckoning. The souls of light must be set apart from those who walk the path of darkness. However, this separation will not be marked by dramatic signs or loud announcements. It will occur softly, quietly, in the background, until the moment when the choice can no longer be reversed. As she put it, in the end, each heart will choose its master. That choice will echo in eternity. This is a profound reminder that the choices we make every day, whether to embrace truth or fear, love or indifference, determine which side of this invisible divide we will find ourselves on. In this moment of growing spiritual separation, it's vital to ask yourself, where do you stand? Have you felt the subtle pull away from old beliefs and relationships? Have you noticed the increasing tension, the emotional distance, or the sense that you no longer belong in familiar places? These feelings are not accidental, but are signs that your soul is being called to awaken, to walk a higher path. Baba Vanga's prophecy is clear. This silent separation has already begun, and the coming years will deepen this divide. The question is not if it will happen, but whether you will be among those who vanish into the shadows of spiritual inertia or among those who walk courageously toward the light of transformation.